Back to the barrel. I have been thinking about how I'm going to sit this on top of the shingle frame, whatever. And this is the bottom of the barrel. So I need enough clearance here for that drain to come out. But I also want enough support for the drum off the timbers that are there. So I have decided the easiest way to do that is with these timbers that I've got sitting here that used to be actually a tank stand in another life. And because it's never a good idea to have a butt joint like that and just screw through here and expect that to hold it up. Whenever you have a weight bearing timber, i.e. this one, it needs to have something other than the fixing taking the weight. I think that's probably the best way I can explain that. So you can't just put that there, screw it, nail it, whatever. That's not good engineering. And so the alternative is to either put it on top like so, if this was the bottom member and this was above it. So you could do that and fix it, and then the weight is coming on there and all the fixing is doing is holding it in place. But don't worry about that raggedy end, that's going to be cut. But many years ago they invented these fellas, which are called joist hangers, and unsurprisingly that's what they use to hang joists. And so what happens is, now a joist isn't 4x2, it'll be 100 by 50 or whatever you want to call it. It would normally be at least 150 and more likely to be 200 or more, depending on what it's spanning. And so these joist hangers are designed for dressed timber. So they sit like that, and you fix, obviously, you fix all of these. There's another hole there where the sticker is. So you fix that to there like so, and then your joist goes in there. Voila. However, the timber I am using is not dressed. It is rough sawn. And so I need to make a bit of a modification. And so what I'm doing is I'm just attacking them with this random bit of timber here. And flattening them out a bit so that they will go on there. You see, there's one that I haven't started on. You can see that it's quite a bit wider. The timber is quite a bit wider, and so that's not going to work. So we'll just do that. I'm unsure just how I'm going to make one of the fixings, whether I will use one of these or whether I'll do it differently. But hello, Mr. Spider. But I'll do a third one anyway, because mostly where I'm using them with rough sawn timber. And that I'll be able to push that in and make it work. Another step along the way for the barrel, I hope to get back to that and actually get it in place this week. But there are a few other things happening this week as well. We'll see what happens. Maybe tomorrow I can crack on with that a bit, it would be nice to do that. Okay, see you later. Because this timber had previously been used for a tank stand, it had deteriorated a bit where the previous fixings had been, and also just from being out in the weather for a couple of decades. So I needed to trim the ends off. This also gave me a nice square end to match up with the other timber. I knew that all the pieces were at least as long as I needed them to be, so cutting the end off without being too specific as to where wasn't going to be a problem. I had previously put the timbers roughly into place where they are going to go, and then the bird bath on top as a template for the barrel. I wanted to make sure that the barrel would be supported by all three timbers, and also so that it would be symmetrical on those timbers and also symmetrical against the shed. I had marked the timber through a process of measure, move, measure, assess, and then mark the timber. Subsequent to that, I realised that I needed to put the timbers in a position about 75mm further away from the shed, so that I had some clearance and wriggle room for when it came to put the barrel on the timbers. Once that was sorted, it was a simple matter of attaching the joists using the joist hangers. This has all been done with screws, A, because that is stronger than nails, and B, because that makes it easier to disassemble the frame should I need to for some reason in the future. Earlier in the video, I talked about the desirability of having timbers on top of one another from an engineering point of view. All of these timbers are actually going to be sitting on other timber, and so they don't actually carry a lot of weight. For the most part, they are packers between the retaining boards and the barrel to give clearance to allow the pipework to come out of the bottom. This is roughly how it's going to sit. So this is the side where the wall of the shed is. Now if you look down there, you can see that in fact this is proud, and that's because this here is actually about 100mm from the edge of the shed, because that's where that retaining board is, and the drum will probably sit against the retaining board almost, but then it can go further towards the shed once it gets beyond there. We will take this up and set it in place, see how it looks, and then move on from there. That's roughly how it's going to sit. So now I'll put the bird bath on top just as a template so that I know where the barrel is going to sit. And so the idea is that the overflow pipe will come out of here and down there. The water supply pipe will be on this side. I think that's right. So it'll come out down under here, and then I'll have it on an upstand up there and continue the level gauge up that side as well. Somehow. I'll figure that out once I've got the barrel in place. Alright, let's see what this looks like for level. That looks about like I planned it. As you can see, the barrel is central to the window, and It's about central as far as the supports are concerned on either side. I will cut this bit off because it's not needed, and also this beyond here. I won't do that just yet until I've worked out all the pipe work, because I might need it for that. And then this one here I'll just square it up, well, not square it, but cut it at the same angle as that, just so that it looks neat and tidy. But it is very close to level. It's not critical, and so I'm reasonably happy with that. I'm still ruminating a wee bit on whether I use a joist hanger there. I could do that and put some more shingle in here. I just don't want it visible, that's all. But the alternative is to actually take some of this shingle out of here and put a piece of 4x2 into the retaining board that's down there, which is probably what I'll do. It's just going to give better support and look nicer. So that's all good. Let's just check something here. Didn't think that was square. So you can see down here, well, hopefully you can, that the barrel is hard against this plank, but it doesn't matter because it'll curve in a bit further as it comes up and then back out again. That's actually okay. That'll work fine. All right, next thing I think is to put that bit of wood down there where I need it to support that cross member. While this is happening in the background, let's have a talk about the word fixed, or even its root, fix. In previous times, the word fixed had a meaning, and that meaning was that something, or even someone, was fixed or on something or someone else. If you go back a few centuries, the word used to be affix. Fix had and has so many different meanings and contexts, but the sentiment is always to attach or add something to something else. E.g., we have fixed a date for the meeting, or he fixed his eyes on his adversary. Or in the context of this video, I fixed the 100x50 to the retaining board with screws. Hence, we have fixings and fastenings for material things that fix and fasten things to one another. The Americans are responsible for the meaning of the word being changed, or, if you like, another meaning being added, and that is to repair something, as in, I've fixed it, instead of, I've repaired it. It seems that the English language is suffering a decline in its colour, and that people focus on using one word rather than thinking of more descriptive words that could be used that would add flavour to our conversations. Everything is level except for this one, and I mean it's not like it's a long way out, but I'll probably put a bit of malthoid or something under there just to pack that up, just to make sure it's level. That one's spot on, and I know this other one's spot on, so we're all good. Now we need to deal with the fittings into the drum. I needed to work out how long the section of downpipe needed to be that went through the bottom of the drum and out through the bottom of the barrel, that the 90-degree bend would then be attached to. In the end, what I did was use an M&F fitting in the bottom of the drum and glued a short piece of pipe on the end of that. That then meant that the piece of pipe that will be in for the upstand in the drum can easily be added later once everything is in place, as it will just drop down into the female part of that fitting in the bottom of the drum. Coming back to language, if you like a little challenge, try not to use the words get or got or getting for a day. You'll be amazed at the number of other words there are that both easily replace it, i.e. get or got or getting, and add considerably to the enjoyment of the language. I really do cringe when listening to the weather presenters, both on radio and television, as their language skills, or if you like, breadth, is sadly lacking. They consistently talk about the weather getting windier or finer or cloudier or rainier. Whatever happened to becoming or increasingly? Also, we are constantly told about the top of the island or the bottom of the island. Anybody know about north or south these days? It seems not. I well remember being reprimanded in my geography class at high school for writing about the bottom of Africa. So that is now sealed in there, and I am going to leave that at that for today, because I don't want to move that at all when I do the other one, because that could easily mess up the sealing of it. So tomorrow, when that's dry, I'll actually take the drum out and seal on the other side as well, and then I will do the other one, which will be more straightforward because it's threaded. Then I will take the barrel and put it on the stand and put the drum in it and just see where everything's going to fit. So basically the two connections out of the bottom at this point will just be straight down, and then I can figure out where the angles need to be for both the tap and the overflow. Once that bit is done, then all that's really needed is to figure out the bird bath and bore the hole in that and put the upstand in it and those things. That's it for now, and I'll see you next time. I realised as I was having a cup of tea that in fact it would actually make quite a lot of sense to bore the hole in the bird bath part today and glue in the upstand that's going to go in there, because then that too will be set. And so that's what I'm going to do. Now, I've debated with myself about, do I put it in the middle, do I put it on the side, what do I do with it? I've decided to put it on the side, i.e. it's going to go about here somewhere. And the reason is that in the middle I'm going to put the pavers that I talked about before, and it'll just look better if they're in the middle. And it also means that because that corner is going to be nearest the path, then it will make it easier to clean out the sieve that I've got to put there to stop the leaves going in. But of course what I have to be careful of is that it's not directly above the overflow, which it won't be. The overflow is going to be on this side, and the upstand from the bird bath I've put diagonally, basically opposite that. So that's what we're going to do. So I'll put you up on top of my toolbox here, and that should work, hopefully. These hole saws have how the auger bit connects with the hole saw is that, hopefully you can see down in there are two little dogs that stick through. So as you wind this back, that pulls the dogs out, and then once they're gone you can unscrew this. Now earlier iterations of these didn't have the dogs, and you just screwed this thing on, and of course they used to jam on so that you couldn't get them off. But now we don't have that problem, because when you wind them on, you don't wind them tight down. You can see there, it's just a little bit off tight, and so then I can wind this back in, and although that feels like it's loose, it's not going to go anywhere, because this is being driven by the dogs. And again, I'm centering it across two boards. Just to be clear here, in case somebody gets offended, about language. This is not intended to be a lecture or a correction. Language has always been a fun part of the interaction between us and our family. I, not infrequently, use the wrong word or context in verbal interactions and receive a loving correction from other members of our family, younger and older, or should that be older and younger. I do, however, try to use the correct words in written conversation and in the narrative in my videos. It's just something I enjoy doing. I have decided that because that's a wee bit loose in there, and this M&F won't go in there, which I knew it wouldn't, but that's actually going to help me, because what I will do is I will put that into there, glue that in, and then I can seal that down onto there, which is pretty much what I did in here. And so then what that means is that I can decide what height I actually want this to come up to later on, because I can just cut a bit of pipe and stick it in there, and that will do the job. And this being in there can be sealed and ready to go. So that's what I'll do. I sanded the hole a little to clean the surface of the barrel to give better adhesion for the sealant. I only sealed this pipe on the upper side and not underneath, as I did with the drum. The reason is that should any water go past the seal at the top, I don't want it trapped in the wood of the bottom of the bird bath. It's better that I can observe that it is leaking by the descending water level in the bird bath. And yes, I did put a bit of a saliva on my finger to then smooth out the silicone seal around the pipe. It works well, and it's always available. And that's it for today. More than a week has passed since I last did any work on the drum or the barrel. And if you have got to this far in the video, it will have become apparent that this is not going to be the last video on this little project. There is still a fair way to go. So I thought I would just let you know that as an end to the video. Here is where I'm up to. So we have both the outlets temporarily in place. So what will happen is when it goes into the barrel, it will be like that. And then once it's in the barrel, I can fix these other bits to it, glue and thread or whatever, and make them go where I want them to go. Probably something like that. So that's it for now. I'm not sure I'm going to get to it this week either. There are a number of other things that I really need to give higher priority to. One being the deck and also the fence. The sunflowers are growing at a rapid rate and need to be protected from the wind. So that's probably a higher priority, and the deck needs to be done so that we can just tidy all of that area up. Up was superfluous there. Anyway, and then maybe I'll get back to this little project. Also, I have decided, and I don't think I've said this previously, that the water in the drum will really just mostly be used to supply water for the bird bath. So I will purchase a little pump of some sort that will pump water up into the bird bath for, I don't know, half an hour a day or something like that. And it won't matter if it overflows because it'll just go back down into the drum again. I will put that on a time clock, as I've got power in the shed there, and that'll be very easy to do. And that will then mean that's self-maintaining to some extent. So thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the little interaction about language. We'll come back to that another day and another word and have some more fun with it. Bye. I don't know that I'm going to get to it this week either, because there have been a number of other things that let's try that again.